not too long ago, we were successful in getting Arizona to strike down their license to discriminate law, a bill that many people believed would have allowed for the religious to discriminate against religious minorities, homosexuals, and things like that. That is not law in Arizona, but unfortunately, during all of that and in the wake of it, Mississippi was able to pass a very similar bill. Weaker in some areas, but just as strong in the important ones. And so that was Senate Bill 2681. It's the Mississippi Religious Freedom Restoration Act. Oh my God, that is a fun little exercise in Orwellian language. It would allow businesses and individuals to deny services to anyone if serving that person or organization would substantially burden the individual's religious exercise. Which might make sense if you never define what religious exercise is actually supposed to mean and allow it to mean in operation, those people are icky and I don't want to serve them. Now, that sounds childish, but I'm only doing this because it is incredibly freaking childish.
Yeah, I don't think that there's any real basis for them to say that there's a religious exemption, that there's anything in the Bible, for example, because obviously these are Christians that we're talking about. They're evangelical Christians or super right-wing evangelical Christians, if you want to put it that way, that are saying this. It's not like some other group who's going to try to come in. I would be awesome if atheists would say, yeah, this is our business and we're not going to serve Christians. If you're an evangelical, if you got a fish thing on your car, forget it. Don't even come up here.
Might not be a good business decision necessarily.
Well, no. See, that's what's so dumb about it, is the idea that these businesses think that they should have some kind of exemption to this, that these people that run these businesses, there's a distinction to be made when you are somebody who's generally serving the public, selling your services to the public, that you're not allowed to discriminate. You're not allowed to use, to find an exemption for yourself from federal law. No, you're not exempt from the law. Sorry. No.
Now, they will say that they actually, they took a little bit of a different angle on this. When they were trying to accomplish much the same thing as the Arizona bill, they actually patterned it after earlier federal legislation that provides some protections for religious practice and things like that. And so they would basically say that now, with the current, the 2681, it requires the government to provide a compelling interest to force business owners to go against their beliefs. That's the sort of language that had been in earlier 90s federal legislation. But I think that it's ridiculous. I mean, they don't mention homosexuals, they don't mention atheists or anything like that. There's nothing about gender identity or marriage explicitly, but we understand from the previous public debates that happened during the run-up to this version of the bill that that's what they mean. It also, by the way, adds the words "In God We Trust" to the official state seal. So you understand where they're coming from. But look, I would be the first person if people were actually interfering with the significant and non-harmful religious exercise that you have. If a homosexual was coming up and knocking the wafer out of your hand before you could put it in your mouth, that would be a bad thing. If you lit a candle and an atheist blew it out every time you lit it, okay, they should not be able to interfere with you.
With your actual practice.
With an actual practice.
Of religion.
But it says nothing in the Bible about not covering gay weddings when it comes to making cakes or something like that. That's a fiction that they've made up in the past decade. And it's ridiculous that they feel the need to protect themselves. Anytime you hear a Republican, by the way, talking about rights that need to be protected, you can be damn sure that it's of the biggest majority in the country, the strongest group, needing what they already do unhindered to be further protected every single time without fail.
It's amazing how somehow you get tired of having everything, again, as you said, in the strongest group, put into play all the time. You have to eventually make yourself a victim. The Religious Freedom Restoration Act, when it was lost.
It's been gone.
When was it lost?
It's been gone.
1987? I'm not sure. Give me the date when you just lost your religious freedom.
Yeah.
It just
Christians
slipped out of
can
your
finally
hands.
step foot in Mississippi again, at long last. So one group that had been trying to fight against this bill unsuccessfully is a group called Get Equal. They have a little quote here. We had hoped that the governor would see that this bill will further isolate Mississippi within the business community, which is a damn good point. We had hoped that the governor would see that this bill will hurt those who live in the state or who are considering moving there, people who now probably will not. We had hoped that the governor would see that this bill will, in fact, hurt his own family and people who he loves. We had hoped that the family values that the governor espouses would hold true and that he would act in a way that fully values his own family. Unfortunately, hatred and ignorance won out today, and our hearts are with those fair-minded Mississippians who call the state home. That's a great point. The governor who signed this into law, there are members of his family who probably, with good cause, don't feel comfortable revealing perhaps their sexual orientation or if they're atheists to him, and they are being hurt and their lives are harder for no reason other than for this guy to feel a little bit more comfortable about an orientation that he has, Christianity, that every segment of society says is just awesome and great already.